Okay, so full disclosure, I had originally intended this video to be an entire behind the scenes look at the process of how I made my childhood stories video, from the writing process, the planning process, getting the B-roll, the editing, basically everything that the video making process entailed. I had recorded it, I had edited it, and looking back at the video, I hadn't captured enough footage to fully encapsulate the process of making the video. So the behind the scenes, I think, will remain in my archives indefinitely. But there was a section of that video in the latter half of the video where I talked about some fun facts about my video making process that I wanted to share with you. This is not only my favorite part of the video, but I think the most important part of the video I wanted to share with you. And within the fun facts section of this video, I revealed some metaphors and symbolism that I had used within the video that I don't think were very explicit until today, now that I'm sharing them with you. I don't think I will be using this sort of symbolism or metaphor in every single video I make, but I do anticipate that I will do it again in future videos, so I wanted to share them with you today. So for the 3 people that watch this video in the future, you know to look for them. So the first fun fact in this video was actually inspired by a series of movies that I watched about a year ago by an indie filmmaker group. So they were a group of movies that they had made. And apart from some very subtle references in the movies, they were largely unrelated. But these movies were made in such a way that if you were paying very close attention, you would notice small overlaps in plot and objects that connected the movies to each other. In fact, it was so subtle that it's kind of like a you blink and you miss it type of thing. You have to be paying extremely close attention. I doubt this is the first time anyone's ever done this with art or movies, but this is the first time I had seen it done like this, and I was very inspired by this. And after watching these movies, I was thinking about how I could incorporate this into my own video making. One of the ways that I've begun doing this is with this photo album. Several vlogs ago, I made a video where I visited my childhood home, and the main theme of the video was me getting my passport for the first time. I talked about how I've always wanted to travel. I've never been able to. It's never been financially feasible for me to travel internationally up until this point in my life, and still, but it is something that I would like to do. And so me getting a passport was like the first step. A kind of side quest in that video was me rediscovering this photo album, which I had started incorporating, curating when I was about 10 years old. So I was going through this photo album and I was sharing pictures and the stories behind the pictures. Obviously, if you've watched the childhood stories video, you would know how this is now incorporated into the childhood stories video. This photo album makes specific references that you would only understand if you had watched that original video. I view it as like a little treat to the viewer. So that's the first way I've done it. And another way that I've done it recently is with the butterfly wind chime that you saw in my childhood stories video. That wind chime again appeared for the first time in my, it's not labeled passport video, it's labeled traveling home post-grad, but that's where it makes its first appearance. As I talked about in my childhood stories video, it was a graduation gift that I received around the middle school period of my life. And because of the day in which I received it, I now view it as essentially a landmarking of that particular period of my life, the passing of middle school. In the same way that I view these tassels, my high school graduation tassel here and my college graduation tassel, as a conclusion of those particular periods in my life. Again, a treat to the audience if you go back and you watch my traveling home post-grad video, something that you will only understand if you watch my childhood stories video. So I wanted to share those nuances with you in case that's something that you haven't noticed, if maybe my childhood stories video was the first video that you watched. So I don't think I will include this sort of overlap in every video I make, but I did want to include this so when I make references to similar overlaps in the future, you know to look out for them. Second fun fact, and I think this is the really fun one. This is my personal favorite. So in the video I uploaded before my childhood stories video, I was talking about my experience with growing up posting my life online. As I talked about in that video, I started posting my life on YouTube consistently at the end of middle school. Due to the time period in which I had started posting my life, you have now seen, viewers who have been watching my life for a long time have now seen me pass the end of middle school, the beginning and through high school, the beginning and through college, and now into the post-grad chapter of my life. And in that video, I actually referred to these particular segments of my life as chapters. I think I will probably continue this into the future, where I have these sort of chapters in my life that I mark in certain ways, as I did in that video. In that video, I had referred to the middle school chapter of my life when I started making YouTube videos as chapter 1. I had referred to the high school chapter of my life as chapter 2. I had referred to the beginning of the college chapter of my life as chapter 3, the bulk of the college chapter of my life as chapter 4, and the post-grad chapter of my life as chapter 5. If you were to watch that video very closely and pay very close attention, you would notice that in the chapter 5 portion of my life, I use the wording exactly. I feel like my life has come full circle, because throughout the college chapter of my life, due to the constraint of me having time requirements I needed for school, just having a lot of my energy and time sucked away for school related things, I basically had to put YouTube on the wayside and wait until I had graduated to really start posting again. Because there was this renewal of me posting YouTube videos once again, it felt like the first chapter of my life where I had just started making YouTube videos for the first time. And if you were to look very closely at that video, I had symbolically marked each chapter of the video, quite literally, with seasonal marks. With the chapter 1 section of my life, underneath the title, I had put a flower representing spring. For chapter 2, I had put a sun representing summer. For chapter 3, it was leaves. For chapter 4, it was a snowflake. And chapter 5 was a flower again. So this representing a cycling through of all the seasons and coming back full circle to the point at which I had started, which I had symbolically represented as spring at the time. And with this sort of symbolism that I had started including in that video, I wanted to continue that into this video. The time period in which this video represents is essentially birth through middle school. I talked a little bit about high school and college in this video, but it was not the main focus of this video. And in my mind, childhood in my life is birth through middle school. And so I was thinking about how I could symbolically represent birth in middle school. And after I had included the story of the butterfly wind chime in my video, that it had become very obvious to me at that point that the butterfly symbol was the most obvious representation of the middle school marking. But I hadn't had anything for the birth marking, and I wanted these two symbols to fully encapsulate that time difference. So in my mind, I was going through all the potential possibilities for how I could represent birth in my life. There were some very obvious ones, like a baby, a cradle, like a pacifier, something like that, which very obviously represents birth. But the problem with those symbols is that they're not intrinsic to me in any way. Those symbols can be used to represent any baby, right? Or at least a large majority of them. And I wanted this symbol to be representative of me and unique to me. So I was thinking about how I could uniquely represent my birth. And it came to me that the most obvious representation of one's own birth is their zodiac sign. So if you had noticed at the beginning of that video, my childhood stories video, when I pull out the photo album from the bookshelf, right behind it is this Astrology 2024 Capricorn book, because I am a Capricorn, if you have not guessed at this point. So if you look closely at this book, the symbol above the goat's head, this symbol is the Capricorn symbol, and is the symbol that I ended up using to represent my birth. So when you look back at the title of that video, it says Childhood Stories, and beneath it, there is the Capricorn symbol and the butterfly symbol. So if you're watching that video and you were like, I have no idea, what is this supposed to mean? This is what it means. Because this is a very esoteric sort of knowledge, I wanted to explicitly tell you in an independent video. Third fun fact and metaphor in this video is also a continuation of a sort of trend that I had started in my 10 years online video. So I've already told you about the cycling through of seasons in that video, but besides just representing the seasons in the flower, snowflake, leaf, sun symbols, I had represented it in my clothing as well. I had represented in that video spring with a pastel sort of theme. I was wearing a blue shirt. Somewhere in that video, I had represented with a very vibrant floral shirt and hot pink nails. Fall in that video, I had represented with a dark red, which I was wearing in the shirt and also in my nails. And winter in that video I had represented with wearing black because that period of my life was challenging. When I cycle through all the seasons and come back to the second recurrence of spring, I guess this would be the first recurrence of spring since it's the second spring, I had worn the same outfit that I had worn when I was recording chapter 1. Again, indicating the full passing of seasons through that video. Again, this is not something that I'm going to do with every video, but since in this particular video, I'm filling in a gap of knowledge, which is the childhood portion of my life, I wanted to represent that with a color. And so when I was thinking about which color to represent childhood with, this was actually a very easy decision for me because when I think of childhood, I think of a sort of purity and innocence that really only children are able to have. White is often used to represent purity and innocence. And so if you go back and you look through the childhood stories video, in every clip of that video, I'm wearing a white shirt. So if you had noticed that and you had wondered, is this intentional that she's wearing white or does she just really like white? It was an intentional choice, as I am still wearing now. I had also painted my nails white. I think that's everything I wanted to share. Once again, I just wanted to make you aware of all of this because this is probably something I will continue into the future. Not in every video, but I will definitely incorporate similar themes into future videos. I have this thing where I'm really bad at outros. I've been doing this for 11 years at this point and I still do not know how to non-awkwardly end a video, so I'm gonna say bye now.